Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon Podcast. My guest today, Jacob Phillips of Lombard Finance. Welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So one of these things that I like to do when I have guests of your esteemed caliber on the pod is to find out, where did you start in crypto? What was that journey for you? Were you in traditional finance? Was it something, did you study mathematics? Were you good at mathematics? Because somehow that's always the case. Where did that journey start for you?
Yeah, my story is I was always arguing. First, I was arguing with my dad. Then I was debating politics. Then I was debating stocks. I always knew I was going to be a researcher in some respect. Late in I was, going down the traditional finance route in college, late in the game, discovered the world of startups and got hooked. Was off pitching VCs crypto just because it was 2018 and I thought that was what they wanted to hear, and accidentally got staffed on a fund that was launching a crypto fund, and they forced me to sit down and look at the tech, and the rest was history. I never believed it beforehand. I had encountered it a couple times before. My freshman year roommate was an ICO investor, and I discovered Bitcoin in high school, but I always just thought it was like get rich quick scheme. By 2018, there were very fundamental improvements, and now it's even crazy to see how far crypto's come since then. I thought it was past the point of no return then, and now we have like the U.S. government thinking about a Bitcoin stockpile. Crazy progress.
At which uni was that?
I was at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. So Cleveland knows nothing about tech, certainly wasn't going to do big stuff in the crypto space, but they happen to be launching like a big blockchain movement, actually led by Bernie Moreno, who's now a senator in Ohio. So, in some ways, always indebted to Cleveland.
Yeah, awesome. So, and then everything sort of led you to this point where you are now. That's right.
Exactly.
Defining your own company. So you did all that. Okay. Pitching VC, seeing how it works, startup, and then it's like, ooh, now I want to start my own thing. I want to have my own startup.
Exactly. So I went from, so I pitched that VC. I ended up like getting a little part-time gig there. Then I decided like, okay, my options are either go into traditional finance and spend many, many years working for someone, so, working for like 15 people all the way up, or I can go into this brand new space that nobody knows anything about and see if we can actually do something special. So I ended up I went from doing a sick New York internship my junior summer to then doing a part-time unpaid internship for the only guy who would respond to my email at a crypto fund based out of Houston. I was like a part-time researcher for him. He'd just tell me, I'd come up with ideas like, hey, I want to research interoperability. And I'd go like write him a huge report on all of the cool interop protocols, and we'd see if there's anything investable. And that led me to another internship at another fund, a New York-based fund, and then ultimately made my way to Polychain, and then spent 2.5 years there. Decided I was sick of sitting on the sidelines. We were investing in a lot of cool protocols, but I wasn't doing shit for them. So I figured I'd go, try that out. 2 years of building at a perps protocol called Perennial. Very hard, very competitive space. Made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot. And now finally with Lombard, going back to DeFi basics, starting a little bit simpler, we've had a lot of success.
Okay, so basically, if I understand Lombard Finance correct, it's about giving Bitcoin more utility. But what does that mean in your terms? What does that mean?
You nailed it. The way I'd frame it is to build a business on Bitcoin right now, you basically have to build a bank or a custodian, or like you have to rebuild Coinbase. This is really hard to do, and it's part of the reason nobody does it. If you want to build cool stuff in crypto, you go build in Ethereum or Solana
or whatever,
or some of our smart contracts. Permissionless innovation is one of the most amazing things that we've created in crypto, which allows anybody to go create a financial product with like the snap of fingers. You don't even have to go get licenses and deal with all this red tape. That's the magic of non-custodial finance, but it's been entirely left out of the Bitcoin space. So what Lombard has kind of come up with a practical solution to onboarding Bitcoin into, ecosystem with permissionless innovation. The way we did it was build a very simple Bitcoin bridge and introduce a catalyst to make it happen in a sense that like in crypto, timing is everything. We've always known that Bitcoin should be a core primitive in DeFi, but Lombard is sort of the first to make it happen at scale and in a liquid manner. So now, thanks to Lombard and the couple $1 billion in TVL that we've onboarded, Bitcoin is a competitive asset in DeFi.
How much money are we talking? How much are you on board?
So it was a little bit over 2 billion. Now, Bitcoin price has dropped a little bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think, but about 20, we're close to 22,000 Bitcoin right now. And honestly, with a couple of the big changes that we're thinking about for the back end,
Yes.
basically going from like a fully decentralized protocol into a more of a trust minimized protocol, I think will allow us to onboard, tens of thousands of more Bitcoin over the next few months.
Okay, so most of my listeners will have heard about staking, which is basically I lend you or borrow you my Bitcoin and you do stuff and I get a yield on it. What is
Yeah.
liquid? What is liquid stacking? Because that's quite not a new. It's still a newish concept. 2023, I think, if my memory serves me right. So what's liquid stacking?
Yeah, so staking is one of the best forms of onboarding I think we have
Mm,
for the entire crypto space. It's a crypto native product with a crypto native risk profile. So liquid staking is sort of the next evolution of this. Staking fundamentally locks your collateral, which makes it unusable in other with other stuff. So like
yeah, that ties that up.
when
Yeah.
you stake your collateral, it's locked up for 7 days or sometimes like 21 days. People don't like this. We have the ability to create liquidity on this in the form of a token that's minted against a staked asset. So this is a concept like rehypothecation is a concept in traditional finance that's very familiar. Crypto makes this permissionless. So
Mm,
now anybody can take that that LST, liquid representation of staked collateral, and go use it throughout DeFi. Anybody can build upon it. There's no sort of additional trust assumptions you have to take on there. So it really is like people have had this idea of superfluid collateral for a long time, and liquid staking tokens are the best instantiation of this.
what would be the biggest risk to your Bitcoin in liquid stacking? Would it be that sort of the whole chain fails?
So in the case of Lombard, the biggest risk is always back to the underlying Bitcoin security. So
Ah, okay.
unlike ETH liquid staking, where we have a shared security primitive that is smart contracts. So you can have a trustless smart contract that has staking and a trustless smart contract that has liquid staking. In Bitcoin, there are no smart contracts. So to build
Mm,
anything expressive on top, you necessarily have to build a security primitive. This is why when I usually describe Lombard, I describe it as two things: a security primitive and a liquidity primitive. The liquidity primitive is LBTC, the liquid staking token. The
mm.
security primitive is the entire infrastructure that we've built to enable LBTC to survive in the state that it is. So in this case, to build on Bitcoin, you eventually there will be trusted solutions. In the meantime, we have to build sort of consortiums or groups of parties who collaborate to secure the Bitcoin. And we've sort of focused on onboarding some of the biggest institutions into that pie. So the idea is like you don't have to trust Lombard or some multi-sig the Lombard team. You can trust OKX, Galaxy, Wintermute, DCG, some of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest institutions that aren't going to steal your money.
Okay, that sounds cool. Bitcoin purists, I think fair to say some of them don't like bringing or the idea of bringing BTC into DeFi.
Yep.
Um, is it necessary? Do you need to win them over to do? I mean, it sounds like you've had enormous success, but going forward, are we still? Is there still this BTC Maximus view of what it should be and sort of what it is now? If that makes sense.
It makes total sense. And I love how you framed this question. It's a question I
Mm.
get a lot, but it's framed in a different way, which is like, will Bitcoin holders ever participate in DeFi?
Yeah.
You framed it
Does it?
as, do you even need to win those people? That's
Yeah.
exactly it. There's $2 trillion in Bitcoin. There is, there's different pockets of capital that are addressable at different times. Part of the reason Lombard's had the success we have is because we started at the lowest hanging fruit. We recognize that there's all this, people are familiar with staking and restaking already. It just so happens that all of the biggest ETH bag holders also have a big bag of Bitcoin. These people have provided the foundation that has allowed us to step by step start having conversations with bigger and bigger, whales and institutions. Had
Mm-hmm.
we started just by going to the, most risk averse OG miners in Asia, we would have been stuck from the get go. But all of DeFi is an iterative game. Timing is everything. So I think we focused on the right user segment at the right time.
Yeah, you keep saying timing is the right thing because it's very possible to be too soon and too late, and it feels like with this current Republican administration being very pro crypto, like we
Yeah.
said off before we started recording, there's a strategic reserve maybe coming. There's bills being passed. This is beneficial for you guys, yeah.
Oh, amazingly beneficial. Yeah, couldn't have dreamed for a better setup for Bitcoin when we were starting this project. We started this in April, May of last year,
Yeah.
and Bitcoin only became a major part of the platform a couple months after we started. We were in Bitcoin Nashville, Trump speaking, and now we have a pro crypto administration. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's great for Lombard, it's great for Bitcoin, it's great for all of DeFi.
So, what is your vision for, let's say, the next 6 months? Are you looking to onboard more capital? Is it more creating more awareness? Is it grow? Yeah, exactly. Is it growing the business? Is it diversifying? What are we talking about?
I think we have two major goals. One is onboard as much Bitcoin as possible. Bitcoin drives the entire Lombard flywheel. And I think part of the reason that Bitcoin DeFi has been able to grow as much as it has is thanks to, Lombard's distribution and the catalyst from Babylon making the space exciting. Like I was, in line with timing is everything. Everybody's
Yes.
known that Bitcoin DeFi was going to become big at some point. I was investing in it in Polychain back in 2021 and it never came to fruition. People have been thinking about this since 2016. Finally, there is enough on-chain activity and we sort of reached a critical threshold to the point where the biggest applications are now excited about Aave's onboarding Bitcoin collateral, Pendle, MakerDAO's onboarding Bitcoin collateral. So the more Bitcoin we bring in, the more likely the ecosystem is to succeed. So we're going to keep focused on that. And the one other thing is Bitcoin today is used in DeFi in a certain way, but it's used as a different asset than the underlying Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the foundational collateral for all centralized exchanges. It's involved in trading pairs. It's collateral for perps, futures, and leverage. We want to make the same happen in DeFi. So right now, LBTC is used as collateral for perps and used as collateral to borrow USD. So this is great. This feels right. The big thing that's missing, I think, is on-chain trading. So the second we start to see centralized exchange activity converge with DeFi activity, we'll know we've won the game. So we're spending a lot of time focusing on that.
How far do you think that situation or that scenario is away, or is it difficult to say?
Yeah, difficult to say, but I mean, we're making a ton of progress. I think Hyperliquid is a great example of this. We've been talking about building, DeFi systems that are competitive with CeFi for the entire life cycle of DeFi, and it's never been true. Hyperliquid's maybe the first time where we've actually really, really felt that. Or I mean, DYDX did this a little bit as well. And so I think if we continue to create those kind of experiences, like one big thing that I think they did that is awesome is they, listed Bitcoin on the spot order book and on futures in an abstractive sense. They did the diligence in the back end. On the back end, it's actually just a 2 or 3 multi-sig that's transferring to Bitcoin. But the experience to retail feels exactly like a centralized exchange. So that's pretty magical. And I think there's a ton of teams building right now that are taking the same lead and building out similar experiences.
Okay, cool. So if we're starting building on top of Bitcoin, what are we building?
If we're building on top of Bitcoin right now, I think we're building simple use cases. DeFi, I spent a lot of time investing in and building really complex DeFi mechanisms. Like at the Perps protocol, we were thinking about permissionless market creation for really long tail derivatives, markets for everything. These kind of things are going to happen eventually, but just not right now. Right now, what Bitcoin holders care about is using it as collateral, borrowing stablecoins against their Bitcoin to get liquidity, and trading it on chain. So I think that we're back to DeFi basics. We want to work with, Uniswap and Aave and, MakerDAO, the most battle-tested DeFi protocols in the game. So I think that's kind of where our focus is. And maybe the one other thing is DeFi and CeFi yield are seeing a convergence throughout all of DeFi, but I think particularly in the Bitcoin space, where it turns out there's a lot of really great CeFi products for Bitcoin holders. In fact, BlockFi and Genesis used to be the best until they collapsed. And in the aftermath, I think we need to recognize that there were fundamentals in those products that are still strong. Lending to reputable borrowers is still probably the best way to earn yield on your Bitcoin, even though it's you take on some risk. It's risks that users are comfortable managing. So I think we want to find a way to sort of collapse the two environments together.
2 questions before I let you leave. Right, what is the most underrated product currently being built? I don't want to say Web3, but in the crypto space at the moment. What's undercover?
Yeah, in crypto?
Yeah, what's undercover?
Yeah, it's a great question. This is a bit broad, but I think wallets and aggregators generally are really, really undervalued. For a long, long time, all anybody wanted to do was invest at the protocol layer when, really a lot of the dirty work of crypto was being done by the people who are actually onboarding users. I think crypto has a demand problem, not a supply problem. And the people who are solving that are the people building the user-facing applications.
Okay. And what is a crypto hill that you are willing to die on? Like, say, I'm willing to die on this hill.
Yeah. So I think the hill I'm willing to die on is that trustless tech will eventually win out. This is always a huge debate in DeFi, and I brought up Hyperliquid, which has been at the heart of this discussion of like, should products be trustless or not? Right now, it doesn't make sense for products to necessarily be fully trustless, but in the end, over time, all trusted technology will be eventually replaced under the hood by trustless. They create fundamentally better products. Users are now demanding it in the aftermath of endless, institutional collapses and hacks. So it's only a matter of time. And really, the entire way that we've been thinking about building Lombard has been focused long term about getting to a point where you could have trustless Bitcoin within DeFi. So it's only a matter of time. And I think that the crazy people who are shouting decentralization for all these years are the people who are helping push the space forward, even if not right now.
Yes. Talking about long-term future, you say something about that triggered something. I thought is this post-quantum state that people are talking about, and with the rise of quantum computers and the risks of crypto basically being, I wouldn't say null and void, but being hacked or whatever. We don't even know what the possibilities will be. Is that something that you're looking at now, or is it too far in the future? It's just like, let's look here and now.
Yeah, I'll be honest, this is further in the future and outside of my area of expertise. But I do know that it's a bit of a cat and mouse game, right? As cryptography advances, the computers advance, and I think there's a lot of really smart people doing research into quantum resistant cryptography. So I'm sure there's someone better to comment on that, but I don't foresee it's an issue. I feel like it comes up in the context of crypto because there's so much value being created, but the entire financial ecosystem runs on cryptogaphy. So
figure it out together. Figure it out, smart people. Figure it out. Jacob, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and connect with you, find out more about Lombard Finance and stake some Bitcoin, where can they do that?
Follow me on Twitter at Jacob P. Phillips and Lombard_finance. Happy to chat with anyone.
I'll put all the links in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. I will catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Like a UN meeting, tension in the air. Got more beef than Gordon Ramsay, but we still all there. Christmas photos looking perfect, Instagram deceiving, but behind them filtered smiles, some hearts still grieving. Got a brother like Kane, but I ain't trying to able out. Every argument we have feels like a bailout. Mom playing referee since 93. Between me and Pops, man, that's ancient history. Like hieroglyphics, our problems prehistoric, but that old man taught me chess. Now my moves more strategic. They say I got his temper, his pride, his strong chin. Looking in the mirror like, damn, I'm turning into him. Remember breaking curfew, climbing through windows. Now I'm catching my own kid. Life's funny how it goes. Full circle like a family ring, passed down generations, building bridges over troubled conversations.
Through the echoes, through the fall, through the fight, through the empty vows we swore would make it right. Through the cracks, through the tears, through the past, still holding on to a love that just don't last. Right down to the line, through the heartache and the clouds.
Grandma's recipe book, more valuable than gold. Each page got a story that's never been told. Like how she fed a family of 8 on minimum wage. Now I'm tearing up, just flipping through the page. Uncle went to war, came back different, they say. But every Sunday dinner, man, he still leads the pray. Cousin on the West Coast, live in Hollywood. But when auntie got sick, first flight back to the hood. They say home is where the heart is, mine scattered like ashes. Cross country in pieces, but we still match like patches. On grandma's old quilt, yeah, we come apart, but somehow find our way back to the start. DNA deeper than features. It's how we carry pain, generational trauma, trying to break these chains. But we also pass down love, strength, and pride. That's why I'm spitting these bars with family ties.
Through the echoes, through the fall, through the fight, through the empty vows we swore would make it right. Through the cracks, through the tears, through the past, still holding on to a love that just don't last. Right down to the line, through the heartache and the climb.
You know what I'm saying? Every family got their own drama, but at the end of the day, that's all we got. That's all we got.